Hey y'all, it's Diana again. Welcome back to my page. How's everybody doing tonight? How you like this hair? Cute little lace front, isn't it? This is the one that I'm going to start wearing out in public a lot because it is more of a length that someone my age can get by with in the public. Now, I love wigs and I wear them in the public. I just don't wear the longer versions that I wear them here because I'm just a little bit old for that, I think. I'm not sure. A lot of older women and older actresses and models are wearing the long hair. So I guess I just got to get used to that, you know. Trying to get comfortable. I wanted to start talking a little bit about when I first actually left home. This is another installment of Woman Once Removed. I can remember when we first moved out, Jody Holiday and myself. We moved out with a friend of Jody's that I got to be really close to. Her name was Toni Foster. She drowned many years ago. But she was a transsexual girl, and we became really close friends through the years. She died way too young. She drowned. This was before AIDS even came around. But we moved out, and the week before we moved, we had put out the word in Olean's Lounge, which was the local drag club in Charlotte. And we had put out that we were looking for somewhere to move in Charlotte. We had been working in cotton mills, all three of us in different cotton mills. And so we had all saved our money. So we were prepared to rent a place and then start looking for jobs, you know. And someone that worked at Olean's, it was a bartender. His name was Nicky Watson, and he's now deceased. For what reason, I don't know. He should have been murdered, but that's another story. He died of natural causes, they say. But Nicky Watson told us that he had an apartment. It was a duplex in a residential area. It looked like a house from the outside. It was an old house, but it had been built as a duplex. And he said he was moving out and moving into another place, and that he still had the lease, and we could sub-rent from him. So we paid Nicky Watson for at least 1 month, for the rest of that month that we were going to be there. I'm not really sure after all these years. We may have paid for an extra month too. I don't know. But we paid him cash. And we moved on in. We all got dolled up and went out to Olean's that night. And to celebrate, we had moved to Charlotte. We were all excited. We were grown-ups now. So, everybody was excited for us and everything. And so we got back to the apartment, and Jody decided to go spend the night out at the racetrack with Scarlett Lefevre, another drag queen, friends with Jody's, and I became friends. And left Tony and I in the apartment by ourselves. Well, we noticed when we went in that in the duplex building next to our building, it had a front porch all the way across it, but it was a duplex. And we noticed there was a bunch of people out on the front porch, and they obviously were intoxicated, and they were kind of screaming from the front porch at us when we came in. So we tried our best not to pay any attention to them, and we scurried in. And we didn't have a television, but we had my stereo and my record collection. So we put on some music just to, to kill the time, so that we could go to sleep, unwind, and those guys out next door and everything. So we were doing stuff around the apartment, getting stuff settled in, because this was our first day. But of course we didn't have furniture and stuff. We were just, getting our clothes and that kind of stuff together. And we started hearing those guys coming up to the front door of the apartment, banging on the door. Let us in, let us in. We're going to party. I don't know how many was out there. It sounded like a bunch of them on the front stoop, little small porch. And it scared us to death. We had no phone to call anybody. We just moved in. We didn't have anything. We had just come from the country to the big city. We didn't know what to do. Well, the next thing, you hear somebody at the back door pounding. So they're pounding from the front and the back. Then they started beating on the windows. On one side of the house had windows across there, all the way across to the back. And they started pounding on all the windows. Now, we were two country girls that were about to pee all over ourselves. We had nothing to protect ourselves against these people. Nothing. Not even a ball bat. So then when we hear they were trying to get the air conditioner out of the window, it was a window unit. We thought all we can do is to try to make it to my car that was out right in front. And we looked out, and there was only one guy, and he was drunk, standing on the front porch. Everybody else was around at the windows and the back door and stuff. So I grabbed the keys, and we took off. And the guy was standing like on the edge of the stoop. We just knocked him on off out in the shrubbery or something, and got to the car and got in and got it started, and the doors shut and locked before they made it around. And they were banging on the thing and jumping on the front hood and all. I took off. I didn't care if I run over them. I don't think I killed anybody. So we went out to Scarlett Lefebvre's trailer, and us crying, and we were just all upset. And they let us sleep on the sofas and floor, something I don't know, because they weren't any extra bedrooms and stuff. And that next morning, we went out. We took Jody with us, and we went out to the apartment. Well, the police were there. And I thought, oh, good, the police are here. Well, and another car next to the police was the owner of the apartment. She was screaming that she wanted us arrested because we had destroyed her apartment. I tried to explain to the police exactly what happened. And he basically, just by talking about it, he knew what had taken place, that those drunk guys next door had come in. I said, why would I move into a place and pay my money to subrent it and then come in and destroy it. What would I do that for? What logical reason would somebody do that? And he understood that, you know. And I went in. My stereo was gone. All my records were gone. There were a few clothes. They had strode everything out of the closet, everything we had. And my purse that was hidden in that closet that had my whole savings from working in the mail was gone. And this woman was behind me just screaming for me to get out of her apartment, that she had already evicted Nikki. Nikki was not supposed to ever come back there. So he had conned us out of our money. And then these people had destroyed our stuff and stole the rest of my money. Everybody else had their money with them. So that was our first apartment. And it within 24 hours, one of the worst experiences I would ever have in my life took place. And it would have sent most people from the country packing. But after that, we found somebody that was that went to the bars that was looking for a roommate. So we went over and moved in, and everything was hunky-dory. This was whenever I met Bobby, my first boyfriend, the one that bought me my hormones, and the one that was so cute. You know, that's where I was living whenever I met him and started dating him. It was right off the plaza, and I believe it was called Plaza Apartments. They were townhouses. I'll never forget that. It was our second apartment in Charlotte. And this was in 1 week's time. So we were there, I don't know, a couple of weeks before the person we moved in with had some kind of a psychotic breakdown. And we'd already paid rent again. And they started screaming for us to get out of their apartment. I don't know if something had happened when Jody or something else with somebody. I know I wasn't in on it. It was another moment when I was like, what? What the hell's going on here? So all I could do was try to grab my clothes, throw it in the back of old Bessie, my 64 Chevrolet Impala that I bought for my grandpa. And we had to drive. I can't remember what we did after that. It's all a blur. But of course we had to go somewhere, maybe back to Scarlett Lefebvre's house for a couple of days until we figured something else out. But I know in the meantime, we both got jobs as sales clerks in an adult bookstore. My first job as my female self. Of course, I was still Lola then. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember it made me see how nasty men can be. I saw my elementary school principal come in there. Of course, he did not recognize me, thank God. I had not known him since the 6th grade, but I changed, you know, during that time, and he still looked exactly the same. Same voice, everything. I knew this man. I won't mention his name, but If you know where I went to school, you would know. And so the people that's on my friends list went to school with me. So you know who I'm talking about. Made me lose a lot of respect for a lot of people. The ones that came up in that place. Now, I was not allowed in the back where the peep shows were because it was against the law for females to go back there, because they would assume if you were going back there that you were a prostitute, and they didn't allow that kind of thing. So they did have undercover cops that would come in there from time to time to make sure there was no females back there, you know. I don't know what else went on back there. So like I said, I never went back there when the place was open. I just went back there to clean up the mess after it was closed. Yep. So that was my first job. That lasted a good little bit. I know that's where I was working whenever we actually got our own apartment that was just ours. And this was a couple of weeks after all this other fiascos had taken place. But we got our own apartment, and we had a pretty good time. I realized during that period of time how hard it was going to be. I started waiting tables too, and I thought, well, this is just going to be so hard. I hadn't got my beauty license. I went to beauty school, but I hadn't got my beauty license at that time. And so I was having to work at minimum wage jobs. You know, sometimes waiting tables you could make pretty good, but you had to bust your tail to do it. And I was a klutz, and I was not a good waitress. I did my best. I was always apologetic for messing shit up. I was a pretty good sales clerk. I could take money. But I realized during that time that it was going to be really hard for me to ever save the money for my surgery. So when I went home during Christmas that first year, the Christmas of 1975 it was. And I was saying to my mother, I said, well, it's just going to be, you know, so hard. And I don't want to be an old person, you know, having my surgery. I want to be a young enough person that I can experience life as a young woman. I mean, I knew what it was like, but I wanted to be a full female. I wanted to be able to date somebody, and if I wanted to make love, that it would be natural and real, the whole thing. I wanted the whole package, you know, where if I fell in love, I could get married and we could adopt children. I mean, I had all these dreams in my head. I was still believing that I was going to marry a doctor or a lawyer. I just knew I was. I absolutely knew it. At that time, I had no anything in my head that could have made me believe that I would not have married a doctor or a lawyer and adopted a family and had everything just forever after. Until I turned 35, I still believed I would have that. By that time, I thought I would marry somebody that was divorced. I'd be his second wife. And I'd help raise his kids, maybe adopt one of our own. I had all this shit planned out in my head. And I did date some doctors and lawyers. I dated this one lawyer. He had just got out of law school whenever I started dating him. And we dated so long, and it was so hot and heavy and serious that he actually took me to meet his family in the big 2-story house. His dad was a doctor too, this kind of thing. And I'm a country girl off the farm. I can dress the part, but when you get to talking to me, you realize I'm just a country bumpkin. And I don't think it went too awful well, because after that nice dinner with these highfalutin folks, we didn't date very much after that. We dated a few times. I never did visit his family again. They let him know I was just not exactly, the kind of girl he should be with. I liked him a whole lot and could have fallen in love with him, but I really didn't. And when that broke off, and I went on to dating other people. Yeah. I met this guy. I just call him George. I won't say his full name. But I was real crazy for this fella. Oh my goodness. He had a job. He worked this big job at a country club. And in his job, he had to wear tuxedos. He was the manager of the restaurant in a country club. So he had to wear this tux. And we met one night at a club called Diamond Gems. Diamond Gems was a pub kind of club. It wasn't a dance club. It was small, and it had tables and booths, and in the back I think they might have had some kind of foosball or something back there. It wasn't much. It was a place where people could stand around and talk. And I used to go in there and drink wine and stuff because I never was a much of an alcohol drinker until later. And I hated beer, but I could drink wine. And at one point, I had a roommate, and she had a boyfriend, and sometimes whenever he'd want to go out to the bar, and she was working, he'd say, if you take Diana with you, I'll let you go. Well, I was kind of upset because I had stopped seeing this guy for some whatever reason, and I was just all kind of, melancholy. And when we got there, I just went over to a table, and I said, okay, you order me a glass of wine. You do whatever you want to do. I don't care. I'm not going to watch you because I don't care. And I said, as long as you keep me with a full glass of wine, I'll sit right here at this table until you get ready to go home. And I was sitting there, and I remember that night, I didn't wear stitch of makeup. I had my hair pulled back in a ponytail. I had on a pair of blue jeans and some kind of t-shirt or something. I was not caring how I looked because I was like, I'm best if it's me and just leave me alone. So I stood over there by myself, and it was music playing. And this guy came in with another guy, and they sat at this table kind of next to where I was. And it wasn't but a little bit that this guy come over there and sat down with me and said, I'm going to talk to you. I said, I'm not here looking to talk to anybody. I said, I'm sitting here with my wine. I'm not bothering anybody. I'm just, you know, having a good time like this. He said, I think you need to talk to somebody, so I'm going to stay here and talk to you. And he started just talking. I don't know what all he was talking about. I kind of started looking at his friend over there at the table. I thought he was cute. Because I thought this guy is just a little bit too good looking. You know, one of those mustache, looked like a young Burt Reynolds. And I always loved Burt Reynolds. And I thought, he's just a little too good looking for me. But he just kept on talking, kept on talking. Finally, the guy that I was with come over and says, I'm ready to go. You ready? I said, I got to go. I'm leaving. He said, well, give me your phone number. I said, okay. Well, I've heard this one before, too. So I gave him my phone number. And then he said, just like they always did, let me give you a ride home and I'll know where you live. And then they want to walk you to the door. And then they want to just come in. I've seen that. I've had that done so many times. So I knew all about that. So I said, no, no, no. If you want to talk to me, you've got my phone number. You can call me sometime. So we leave. We go pick up his girlfriend. And we go out somewhere to eat. And this was late at night, you know. Up in the morning, like. And so we ate. We took our time. And this is before cell phones, y'all. This was a long time ago. In the late 70s. 77, 78, something like that. And when we got home, the phone was ringing. And it was that guy. And we wound up talking until daybreak. He was just so easy to talk to. It was just like one thing led to the next. And we immediately had a friendship built up, immediately. And we started dating. And I fell head over heels passionately in love with this guy. He was separated and he had a little girl. On the weekends, if he got her, we would take her out. I fell in love with her. I took her to ride the horse, my horse Beauty, out at my parents' farm. My parents raised rabbits. I remember giving her a baby rabbit. It was wonderful. He asked me to marry him. And then, just right before his divorce is supposed to go final, he went back to his wife. But it didn't work out. He broke my heart. And then when it didn't work out, he calls me and wants to talk to me. He wants us to start over. But he had broke my heart. I couldn't do it. Much as I loved him, oh God, much as I thought he was going to be my life, I'm sorry, if you break my heart, you choose someone else over me, I couldn't do it. It was over. Much as I would love to things to have worked out, it didn't. And after that, I started dating my roommate's boyfriend that I went out to the club with, her boyfriend's best friend. I started dating him. and he became my first husband, Al. So that's another story. I've taken up way too much of your time, but I've gotten into and past my first love. First and second love, Bobby. I was crazy about Bobby, but we were kids. But George was my first mature love of a grown man. Yeah. Alrighty. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.